Hey, it's Marie. I just wanted to let you know a few testimonials from different clients. I had a client who I was working for an 800 number, like to get my feet wet and to really understand the energy and all that I was feeling. And so I worked for them for a year. I didn't make hardly any money, like 26 cents a minute. But really, what I wanted to do was just immerse myself in readings. And I had a caller. I knew that she worked in the White House and she was a bit panicked because she didn't know if she was going to have a job. And so, what I was able to see for her was that her job would change potentially every few years. And I asked her a little bit more about that. And she said, yes, that truly happened, that it was like they would change everybody over. And so I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know too much about that type of work or what she did, but I could see that there was a change. And she just really wanted to know, was she going to be working in February? And I could see that she would be working, but not in her same capacity. So she wouldn't have the same job that she had, but she would be essentially reassigned, but she would be leaving, like packing up her stuff in a box and leaving the building. And it turned out to be true. The president wasn't elected, and she left with the president's administration. So through that reading, I was able to see who was going to be the next president because it wasn't the person in office, it was somebody new coming in. So, how fascinating is that? She did get her new job with the new administration, and she was able to stay in that job until she retired because she was working for President Obama. So that is one person that I have done a reading for. I've also gotten information from the guides compelling me to reach out to someone fairly famous. And I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that, but I asked the spirit world to put me kind of in front of that person or somehow make that connection, because I can't just like email and go, hey, this is me and I have a message for you, because it sounds kooky. But what ended up happening was a friend on Facebook who I had been chatting with to help her with some health issues. Um, I was able to give her some really good advice and she trusted me. And so when I said, hey, do you happen to know these people? And she said, yes. And so she was able, I gave her the information and she passed along the information to the Hollywood famous. And then they had my contact information and then they called me. And so I was able to describe to them what I saw and how important it was that they shred their paperwork because things were getting thrown out in the trash, and somebody was going through their trash and going to be using their penmanship, their signatures, and creating loans or documents or something that could have a really negative effect for them. And it was quite an elaborate scheme. And so that was a situation I was able to help with. A client of mine contacted me. So I was seeing her for massage therapy. I was a massage therapist until the great sequestration. And I prefer not to call it COVID. We were just sequestered. She contacted me because she was having a health issue, and I had only seen her for massage. And, you know, being a massage therapist, I do understand the exchange of energy and often would get images and things. And with the person's permission, I would give them the information. But she called me for a session because she was having some issues and no one could get to the bottom of it. And so I sat with her in my office. And as I began looking, I realized that I could see the flow of her heart. And having taken anatomy and physiology and doing all the things that I've done in healthcare, emergency medical technician for over 20 years as a volunteer. And working for a chiropractor and medical doctors and naturopaths, I could see that there was something in the flow of her heart that was not quite right. And I asked her, I said, do you know that your heart flow isn't usual? And she said she was familiar. And so what looked to me like a very small ventricle, if you know what that is. So you have 4 chambers to the heart, and you have the 2 atria on top, and the ventricles are down below, and they really move blood. And what I saw was only 3 chambers to her heart. And that was a little concerning. And I'm thinking and doubting myself, oh my goodness, is this even possible? And so I asked if anyone had ever done a study of her heart, and she said no. And so I said, I don't necessarily want to be the bearer of bad news, but it's very possible that there would be some shocking revelation when she had either her echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of the heart, or if they were going to do a CT scan. But first, they were going to start with an EKG. And so I explained to her that during the EKG, where they put all the sticky patches on, they were going to be very perplexed. And it would be concerning, but not to worry. What they were actually seeing was the fact that there was her QRS complex, what should be your heartbeat, looked very different than ours because she was missing a ventricle, and not to panic. And so with this information, she could stay out of anxiety. They could do the study. They could see that she had a very healthy heart, but only 3 chambers. That one ventricle was doing the job of 2. So there was some, I'll call it regurgitation, because there was a little bit of backflow. And so they were able to provide her a surgical intervention, and that will likely extend her life. She's still alive today. So that is another case of a more medical intuition. I can also move energy and have been able to move big energy like hurricanes until Rita and Katrina. And then I'm telling you, I'm like, pack up and you have to leave, because I can't move this energy. I can't put it off to a place that's already been hit by a hurricane and is already devastated. So that's what I would try to do, is look for an area where they weren't rebuilding or things like that, and try to move that energy. That's an example of a really strong energy. So weather patterns. I don't do that very often because I really feel like I need permission. And that's one thing I have boundaries, and I need permission to be able to look into somebody's energy field. I've worked with animals. I love working with horses and dogs. Horses are just so, I'm going to say, black and white. They either like you or they don't. They feel your energy. If you don't have good positive energy, if you're very erratic and you have fast movements, they will back away. And so I've been able to help people with their animals. I can scan and see inside of an animal, just like a human, and I'm able to move the energy with thought, with my feeling, and with intention. I'd love to share more testimonials. Check out my website, where you will see several of them there. You know, sometimes people aren't real forthcoming because they don't want people to know that they've seen a medical intuitive or a psychic. And people give me pseudonames and follow me where you won't see me on their page. I know it's kind of a thing, but hopefully now this new energy coming in, I think we're going to be having some full disclosure. I hope this has been helpful. Check out my page, and I'll see you real soon.